about Game 5. And the referee of this game, Don Koharski, Jerry Gauthier, and Swede Knox are the linesmen. The goaltenders, the all-important goaltenders. There was some question whether Barrasso could stand up to the pressure of the grueling playoff schedule. Well, he's won the last two, allowing just one goal in each. He's allowed just one goal in 5 of his 12 playoff games, so he has indeed stood up well. Andy Moog, of course, is the reason the Bruins are still around. Solid against Hartford, magnificent against Montreal, and now he has to come up even bigger tonight against Pittsburgh. Samuelson and Stanton will start at the blue line for the Penguins. Francis, Mullen, Stevens up front. And for the Bruins, Al Peterson and Ray Bourque. Ray Bourque has the puck. Hodge is starting. He's number 10 for Boston. And he has the puck, clearing it across center. Christian moving in. Skriko, the other forward. Pass in front of the net does not work. Pittsburgh moving for the first time now. The smooth skating Stevens fired one in wide. From the line, Stevens the backhander. That's blocked in front of the net. Bruins come back in again. Hodge looking pretty good. Christian. And a big save by Barrasso early. Getting the right hand out and making the grab.
Ken Hodge Jr., a surprise starter tonight, trying to get Skriko and Christian going without their regular centerman Dave Poulin, who's one of the key players out for the Bruins with that groin pull. Mike Milbury inserting Ken Hodge. Hodge has said he would have liked to play a couple of games ago. I'm surprised he's out there. Minor shoulder separation. Had it in a sling for the first 3 days. Practiced in Pittsburgh and is starting here in Game 5 in Boston.
Mario Lemieux for Pittsburgh, 66. Recchi. Shiner and all, number 8. Little souvenir from the last game in Pittsburgh. And Bob Sweeney is that man, number 20 for Boston on the faceoff against Gillen. Duras to the right, Burridge to the left. Sweeney won it. Don Sweeney scores! Don Sweeney! Boston.
We talked about face-offs in the last game. Here, Bob Sweeney right back to Don Sweeney, but watch Randy Burridge. Burridge goes right to the front of the net, and there he is in front of Tom Barrasso. I don't know whether Burridge got a piece of it, but he was right in front of Barrasso as that shot from Don Sweeney went by him.
Boston 1-0. Only 40 seconds into the first period. And here's the goal scorer. Don Sweeney up there again. Squeezing by on the boards. Centering it. Burridge came close to making it 2-0 Boston. What a start for the Bruins. Galley back. Here's Don Sweeney again. Up to Bob Sweeney. Couldn't win. Doris is there. Lemieux fell, but got the puck out to Erie and Recchi with him. Recchi is offside at the Boston blue line. Bob Sweeney winning the faceoff cleanly. Got the assist on that goal by Don Sweeney. 40 seconds was the time.
Here's another look at the goal, and look at the clean draw by Bob Sweeney against Randy Gillen. The shot at Randy Burridge goes right to the net. And you see, he's right in front of Tom Barrasso as that shot from Don Sweeney goes by him.
Janney against Trottier, and Janney won this faceoff. Bruins, heck of a start here in Game 5. Penalty coming up, and it's the first one of the hockey game. Don Koharski watching the two players in the corner, pushing and shoving, and Paul Stanton of Pittsburgh is off.
As expected, I think John Ulf Samuelsson is going to be in the middle of things, perhaps physically. Early example here with Samuelsson and Wesley as the Swedish defenseman moves into the picture and nails him. And Neely and Harry. Harry was upset with us. He really yapped at Neely after this.
And you can see Neely hits him from behind. Now watch this. Look at Neely talking to Harry, and Harry right back at Cam Neely. And Samuelsson hit Neely on that power play too, renewing their acquaintance.
Roberts trying to duck away from a hit. Bruins forechecking and taking it right to Pittsburgh. In the early going of this first period, they're leading 1-0. Roberts comes to center and fires it in. Young kept it in, took it off the boards, and now Roberts on this left side. Stevens in the corner, having a tough time against Burridge. Don Sweeney takes the puck away. Slipped it out the doors, and that's center ice. Nyland coming in. Lazaro was going after it. There's Nyland around the net. Out front it comes to Burridge. Nyland again took a shot. Weak shot off the skate. Again in front, Burridge nearly got loose. Pittsburgh getting it out. Stevens having to hurry. He's in. He can goal. He scores. Stevens with a great burst of speed for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they tie it. And Stevens has been hot.
The Penguins' first shot on goal ends up in the goal. Here's the pass, and look at Ray Bourque gets trapped up ice. Chris Nyland is the last one back. He can't catch Kevin Stevens. There's no way in a foot race, Stevens against Nyland. And watch on Andy Moog. Fakes through the arm and the leg. Good play by Stevens using his speed on Bourque and Nyland.
There was a bad news, good news situation there for Pittsburgh. About 30 seconds before Stevens scored the goal, Mario Lemieux left the bench and went to the dressing room. See if we can get a report on why.
Assisted by number 34, Scott Young, and number 55,
Peterson's shot from the blue line is blocked. The Penguins get it out. Murphy and Young assisted on the Stevens goal, his 12th of the playoffs, at 7:55 to tie the game at 1. And now Marquardt of the Bruins is going off for slashing.
Well, this is not a replay. Nevin Marquardt's back in the box, and that was a strange one. Baffled us. Koharski made the call. Marquardt was down on the ice, and Larry Murphy threw his arms up as if, oh, not me, and all of that. Now let's just see what happens here. They're hanging on to each other, hanging on. And somehow Marquardt ends up in the penalty box through all of this, and I guess that's it right there. He knocked Barrasso down, perhaps. In any event, he's gone for 2 more, and the Penguins had good pressure, John, in that last power play right toward the end of it, the last 40 seconds or so.
They really did, and Andy Moog was the only reason they didn't score in their power play. They threw the puck around well, had quality shots, but Moog just came up with the save.
So it's another Pittsburgh power play. The Bruins at first thought the Pens had the penalty. We did too. Offside at the Boston line, but Marquardt, the penalized player, 1-1 the score, and again Pittsburgh with a chance for the extra man.
Well, there's Mark Recchi with the shiner, courtesy of the Bob Sweeney incident the other night, one which has the tape of which has been sent to the NHL by the Penguins brass, and he went off during that last power play and received some attention on the bench, but he's back out here now for the face-off against Bob Sweeney.
Recchi, Lemieux, Stevens, Phil Bourque, and Murphy for Pittsburgh. This is Murphy. And he goes back to Bourque. Off his stick, but the Penguins shoot it in. Moog covering, slapped it in behind the net. Stopped by Recchi on the boards. Into the corner, Stevens. Stevens around the net. Mario Lemieux takes it. Lemieux waits. Waiting for somebody open. Shoots it himself, right to Stevens though. It was deflected there. Now Lemieux again. Very patient with it. Back to him. At the line, the drive. Not much on that. Phil Bourque almost fanned on it. Now Stevens up front. Quick shot. Recchi coming close. Again Lemieux. Great Puck control in front of the net. Bob Sweeney. He waited too long and didn't clear it. Penguins keep it in. Murphy on the boards has his skate on it. 40 seconds left on this power play. Mario Lemieux left it back of the net. Wesley bumping with Recchi out front, and Lemieux scores! Mario Lemieux scoring a power play goal for Pittsburgh. They lead 2-1.
Big pressure by the Penguins again, John. It was interesting to watch Lemieux away from that side. He stayed on the left wing as the Penguins attacked, and he was really all alone throughout that whole sequence.
And here's Lemieux starting it as Andy Moog tried to clear the puck. Now watch him circle like a vulture, and there he is with the big reach off the skate up to his stick and just slides it just inside the post. What great hand-eye dexterity by Mario Lemieux as he kicked that one up from his feet to his stick. Nice play by Mark Recchi across the goal box.
4 seconds.
Recchi and Stevens assisting on the goal by Lemieux, his 10th of the playoffs. 12:04 of the time.
And Recchi power play goal.
And it's 2-1 Pittsburgh. Well, the Bruins started in such a rush. Scored the first goal at 40 seconds. And control the play for the first 8 minutes or so. But the Penguins came back to tie it, and now a power play goal, and they're ahead. Face off to the left of Tom Barrasso. Bob Sweeney, who won a draw cleanly at 40 seconds, and saw Don Sweeney score, and he wins this one for Hammond. Hammond's shot blocked in front of Barrasso. Bob Sweeney bumped up the line by Samuelson. Burridge centered it. Pittsburgh all back, and they turn. Samuelson comes out, and here's Erie. Getting room on Bob Sweeney, but the puck slipped away right to the net. Now Moog gloved one, and he holds it as it was fired from the boards by Recchi. Decided to hold it.
Andy Moog made a big save on Kevin Stevens about a minute and a half ago. The Penguins, Stevens in all by himself, sent in by Recchi. Big save at a critical time, as it's been all Penguins here in the last 7 or 8 minutes. And instead of 3-1, it's only 2-1 because Moog was able to stop Stevens on that breakaway.
Well, you think back, John, to when it was almost 2-0 right after the Sweeney goal. Burridge was in front of the net. How he missed, I don't know. That was about a minute and 2 seconds into the game. Samuelson keeps his action going. He just goes right at those players. When they come down that right side, he just skates right into them.
11-7 are the shots in favor of Pittsburgh, and they're leading 2-1. 5.5 minutes left of the first period. Galley stepping out in front of his own net against Mario Lemieux with that big reach. Dangerous move. Barrasso fired one out to center, hoping Lemieux could knock it down. He just missed it. Mario turned back to the goaltender. He waved his stick and he said, "Next time." That's Roberts. And Murphy to Erie. Erie slipped away from Galley. Galley thought he had him lined up. Recchi tapped it behind the net for Lemieux. He centered it. The Bruins get out. 3 of them. Burridge comes down. He has Doris with him. Burridge slipped it over to Don Sweeney back in front. Burridge has to waltz around with it. Now hangs on to it. Now the pass to Janney going in. Around the net. Centered it. Up the blue line. Peterson shot. Scramble in front. Backhander missed. Not by much. Duras coming close. Great action around that net. Long shot deflected over the Boston goal by Erie. Bork falls to the ice. Bruins turn it up a notch. The long pass rolls right into the net. Standing back. Ruzicka giving chase. Here's Loney now. Getting it ahead. Trottier is moving to center, and a good move there. Trottier dropped it. Samuelson. Rebound. Trottier scores. Trottier got the rebound after making a fine play to Samuelson, and Pittsburgh leads 3-1.
Brian Trottier is the most experienced playoff performer in this series, and he showed his coolness, John, all the way up the ice to make that play happen. And Trottier gets his second goal of this playoff year.
Nice little drop pass to Samuelson, and look at the screen shot. This is why Andy Moog can't control the rebound. Look at the screen shot as defenseman goes down, and Andy can't pick up the high shot. The rebound goes out. Trottier goes unmolested in front of Andy Moog and just slides in that rebound.
Number 1 for Brian Trottier.
Samuelson and Loney assisting on Brian Trotier's goal at 15:49. 3-1. Yager now. And he's bumped off the puck. Bruins coming in as Lazaro. Great speed. Passed it in front of the net. Hodge couldn't handle it. Back out for Loney. Loney and Yager. Yager missed the pass. And now Nyland. That's tipped away. Yager is going off. Short shift for Yager. 3:30 left in the period. 3-1 is the score. Pittsburgh. Stanton behind his own net for Stevens. Ripped it on the boards for Mullen on the other side, and Bob Sweeney forechecking bumped him. But the Penguins shoot it all the way down the ice, and Galley going back. That is icing against Pittsburgh. Trotier's second of the playoffs. Samuelson and Loney assisted at 15:49.
There have been a lot of unkind things said from the coaches toward the other coaches in this series. You know, this has happened before in the playoffs. I can recall my father and Jack Adams, Toblake and Punchinlack, Grapes and Scotty. I think these guys, that was huffing and puffing. These two just simply don't like each other, especially Milbury, the things he's been saying about Johnson. It's unreal.
A lot of it has to do with Bob Johnson's days as director of the U.S. Amateur Hockey Association.
Old Samuelson, Neely in there, so is Marquardt. Marquardt turned and fired one and missed the goal by a couple of feet. Stevens, bumped by Neely. It's obvious now the Bruins are going to start hitting a little more. Don Sweeney's shot is gloved. On this shift, Neely and Marquardt threw about 3 hits each. The Bruins are down 3-1. They have to do something.
Here's Cam Neely on old Samuelson, and Samuelson gets hit by Marquardt more than Neely. But the Bruins have to try and get the fans back into this game. They were involved. The early goal, the fans were charged, and the Penguins' 3 goals have taken the fans here right out of it.
They're sitting back an inch or two now. No question about that, John. They started the roar when the Bruins came out. Put it up a decibel or two at 40 seconds when Don Sweeney scored. But it was Stevens, Lemieux, and Trottier. 3-1, Pittsburgh. Samuelson bumped by Duras now, and the puck is allowed to roll out to center ice. Peterson slaps it back in. Samuelson has lots of time to take a look. Goes to Stanton, his defense partner, and he lifts a long one toward the Boston net. Through the crease to the right of Moog, so no icing. That pass is stopped at the Pittsburgh line by Roberts. Bruins frustrated at this point of the first period. Stolen by Mullen. Mullen from Peterson, but he was checked in time and couldn't get a shot. 2 minutes left in the period. Bob Sweeney shoots it in. There's Burridge with it. Sweeney in front. Tried to direct it toward the net. It hit Roberts. And he gets out. Just lifts it in across the Boston line. Hammond with Recchi right after him. It's centered and tipped wide of the net. Here's Christian picking it up. There's no place to go, so he shoots it to center. Burridge trying to go in there against Murphy. Murphy falling. And they'll get a whistle. Or a face-off outside the Pittsburgh line. 1:26 remaining.
Mark Recchi was really fired up after that hit by Bob Sweeney and set up the 3rd goal for the Penguins in Game 4. And look at the shift here. As the Bruins came out hitting on their last shift, in comes Mark Recchi, hits Hammond, continues on, goes to the front of the net. Look at the coverage in front of the net. Recchi still fighting for it, almost set up another good chance.
That kind of aggressiveness led to the 3rd Pittsburgh goal the other night. After the Bruins had got to within 1, they came right back, and it was Recchi who did the work and made it possible for Mario to get the goal. Really worked that kick.
Bruins shoot it in. Here comes Christian. He bumps his man, but Phil Bourque takes the puck out for the Penguins. The center hands it off and slapped in by Yager. Hammond goes back to the net. Nobody open, so down the ice with it. 1 minute remaining in the first period. Bruins intercept. Hammond centers it. Ruzicka stopped. Hammond again, can't find it. Phil Bourque with the pass and a little too far for Yager. He's catching up to it in the corner. Now he centers it. Hit Trotier's skate. Trotier trying to get it back to the youngster, but couldn't. Penalty coming up against Pittsburgh. Barrasso gloves it. Koharski blows the whistle. And here's a slashing penalty being called against Pittsburgh's Phil Bourque.
Well, again, it's a retaliation situation. Hammond was all over Bourque, and when Bourque got up off the ice after Hammond had knocked him down, he looked toward the referee. Nothing was happening, and then he whacked Hammond and got the penalty, and then Hammond waves him goodbye, which you don't often see. Now, there's what upset Bourque. Now, he gets the penalty call, and look at Hammond. Showboating a little bit there toward the Pittsburgh player. So with just 37 seconds left in the period, and the Bruins desperately in need of a goal to get back into this hockey game, they get a power play chance on the slash called on Phil Bourque.
You can bet that Hammond was trying to get Bourque to react again and maybe get a double minor against Phil Bourque, but Phil Bourque only took the one retaliation penalty wisely.
All right, Boston sending inside the line. Neely with Janney. Galley and Bourque. Ken Hodge Jr. on the faceoff against Gillen of Pittsburgh. 37 seconds left on the clock in this first period. 3-1 Penguins from the draw. Bruins cleanly. Shot, score! Janney!
We've had a penalty call here. But there's the big goal, John, and the Bruins have got this crowd up on their feet again.
Cam Neely is getting a roughing penalty after the goal had been scored. Right from the faceoff. Again, the Bruins winning the draw is something they weren't doing in the games in Pittsburgh. Right to Janney, one-timer. Tom Barrasso didn't read the play very well and didn't get across very quickly. But what a shot and what a play by Ray Bourque. Now here's the penalty call. Look at Samuelson taunting Neely. And finally, Neely reacts right there with the right hand. That's after the goal had gone in. And Neely gets a roughing penalty.
So the Bruins score in the first minute of the period and the last minute of the period. And even though they've been outplayed and certainly out-finessed through most of it, they're only one down. But now they're one down in the manpower department again.
The two Boston goals coming on a face-off, one cleanly by the Bruins. This one by Ken Hodge. And Janney just fired it right away. Bourque also got an assist as Bourque passed it over to Janney. 19:27 the time, but Hodge won that face-off perfectly.
And that was one of the reasons they wanted him in the lineup tonight, because he has been a good face-off man for them. Sore shoulder and all, they took a chance.
And you wonder about taking draws with that sore shoulder. It hasn't seemed to bother him at all.
So it's a 3-2 hockey game with 25 seconds left in the period. Bruins are shorthanded now, Neely in the penalty box. Long shot, easy save for Moog. The Bruins dump it down the ice, 15 seconds remaining in the period. Murphy, quick look at the clock. Stevens decides he might try for one. Dropped it. Lemieux back to him. Cutting in. Lemieux shot. And he missed. Moog had not moved on that screen shot, but it missed the net.
And the Penguins power play with good puck movement to Kevin Stevens, back to Lemieux, and that screen shot, as Bob said, Moog never moved till it hit the boards and behind him. The Lemieux factor, again, a big one in the first period, as Big Mario had a strong road first period.
On a face-off, deep in the Pittsburgh zone. Bob Sweeney to Don Sweeney. 40 seconds, 1-0. Pittsburgh, Stevens, his 12th of the playoffs. From Young and Murphy, 7:55. On a Pittsburgh power play, Mario Lemieux, his 10th at 12:04. And at 15:49, Trottier made it 3-1, getting his own rebound. And then Janney on a Boston power play with 33 seconds left in the period. And the score at the end of the first period. Game 5 at Boston. Pittsburgh 3, Boston 2. Cam Neely in the penalty box for another 1:28 as we start the second period. Pittsburgh leads 3-2. And this power play moves in immediately. Recchi missed it though, and Bork, touching it at the far side, brings about an icing call against Pittsburgh.
Ray Bork going back to touch that puck. A look at Kevin Stevens. He is on a roll. As Dick mentioned, 5 consecutive games with goals. Penguins power play looked very good in the first period. They had 1 power play goal, and their other chances, their other power play opportunities, they had control of the puck, had some good shots. Had it not been for Andy Moog, they would have scored on every power play they had. But on this power play, again, they tried that long lead pass. They had trouble here in games 1 and 2. I can remember one power play, they iced the puck 3 times where they missed that long lead pass, and it ends up just being an icing call.
Kevin Stevens getting his 12th goal of the playoffs at 7:55 of the first period to tie it at 1 at that time, after Don Sweeney had scored at the 42nd mark for Boston. 3-2 now. 1:10 left of the penalty to Cam Neely. And it's Phil Bork starting Stevens again. Moving up to the Boston line with Recchi, and he couldn't handle it cleanly. Had to go all the way back for it. Bob Sweeney and Nevin Marquardt are the Boston penalty killers up front. Wesley and Bork, the defenseman. Recchi shot it in. He crossed center. Bob Sweeney slapped at it, couldn't get it out. Murphy to Lemieux. Back to Murphy, right on the line. Now Mario Lemieux again. Slipped it into Recchi, back to Lemieux's shot. Rebound, and Moog somehow stopped that from Phil Bork. He was in there all alone. He had the empty net, so it appeared, but he couldn't get it up.
There is no question that in this series, the most frustrated non-goal scorer is Phil Bork. What chances he has had, and none better, John, than this one.
Off the inside of the post, and the rebound goes right out to Bork. Look at this. Hits the post behind Moog, out through his legs, but look at Andy Moog recover. Spots the puck in desperation, gets the arms down, and Bork hits him. Bork has had so many good scoring chances. 3 or 4 clear-cut breakaways that he hasn't even got a shot. There, the whole empty net, waited too long, and Moog was able to recover.
33 seconds left on this power play for Pittsburgh. Wesley shoots it for Burridge. He tipped it out. Got it by Murphy. Murphy managed to stay in front of Burridge, though, allowing Bork to come back. Phil Bork coming out again. Up to center. Rattles it in. To the far side is Ray Bork. He can't clear it, but it will be shot down the ice by Christian. 8 seconds left in the penalty to Neely, so Boston has killed it. 3-2 Pittsburgh. Neely on the ice. And Recchi coming in with Mario Lemieux. The pass behind Lemieux. All the way to center again for Bork. Recchi trapped inside the line. Don Sweeney tipped in over the line by Burridge. Stanton got it out. Pittsburgh moving in. Lemieux in front. Recchi shot. That's deflected high. Recchi into the boards. Heavily behind the net. He's all right, though. Back up on his skates to make a play for Erie. Erie can't find room. Trying to skate behind the goal again. Christian to the line. Kept in. Lemieux reaching for it. Now Neely. He was hit by Samuelson, but got it out. Recchi bumped by Neely. 3-2 Pittsburgh. Galley coming up to center. He hits Neely. Neely going in. Low shot. Rebound. Neely tied up. Can't get his stick loose. Back of the net. It is Pittsburgh coming to center. Stevens made the move at the line, and Mullen did not anticipate that move, and he shot in there offside. We'll be right back after this message.
Here in Boston, the Penguins lead 3-2, but they're in penalty trouble again in this second period. Not much doubt about this one. Peter Duras dumped by Gord Roberts. So down goes Duras and away goes Roberts. Earlier on, is Cam Neely getting upset with Samuelson?
Is that holding there?
Yeah, what? If that's holding, is this roughing? Pow!
For sure, the right hand. Gordy Roberts, a free agent after this year with no compensation, has had a strong finish with the Penguins, down and out when he was in St. Louis. Ended up playing at Peoria for a while, but has resurfaced and resurged with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
14,448 at the Boston Garden, a sellout, anticipating the tying score coming up on this power play. It is Galley's shot. Rebound is in front of Neely. He's knocked down by Stanton. Penguins shoot it down the ice. Pittsburgh trying to weather the storm. They're leading by a goal, nearing the 8-minute mark of the second period. Ray Bourque as fires the line before getting rid of it against Stanton. Neely in the corner. Hodge working with him. It's back to the line to Galley. Now Bourque. Back to Galley. Shoots. That's deflected wide of the goal. Neely parked in front of the net. Penguins try to get it by Bourque. They do not. Here's Galley again. And he missed. And Mario Lemieux fired it off the boards and got it down. Penguins changing. Bruins on it. Janney spun around by Taglianetti. Janney knocked one down. Galley racing for it, can't keep it in. 50 seconds left of the penalty. Janney is offside. A play is called.
Well, another replay of the replay. Just wonder how long these guys can keep it up, but they've been hammering each other. And look out now. That's Grant Jennings and Cam Neely here. As we're about to show you, we get a chance here on Neely-Samuelson confrontation again in front of the net during that Boston power play action. And the Happiness Boys are at it again, cheek by cheek.
Ulf Samuelsson always does a good job. Watch his left hand. He always wraps it around Cam Neely's stick. Make sure that Neely can't get it anywhere near the ice for a tip-in or a play on a rebound. He has a broken hand. He's playing with a special glove on. And you can see his finger there, the swelling in it. It's all purple. And so Ulf Samuelsson doesn't drop the gloves anyway, but with the broken hand, you can be sure that he'll never drop the gloves.
Roberts has 48 seconds left of the penalty. 3-2 Pittsburgh. Boston moving it in. Skriko with Ruzicka. And again, the Penguins clear it. Bourque against Joe Mullen. Wesley takes it for Skriko. Now to Wesley. Ruzicka centered it. Neely bumped off the puck. Stayed on his skates. Neely tried to get it back to the point. And again, Pittsburgh clear it down the ice. 15 seconds left on this power play. Bourque will have to hurry. Skriko moved it up along the boards with a shot. Barrasso got a piece of it and then slows the play by holding it. And now only 8 seconds left in the Roberts penalty.
The old Boston Garden is 62 years old, and yet over 29,000 people have paid their way into this place today with the Celtics game this afternoon. You see all the Bruin pennants that are hanging on the rafters, and there are even more, I guess, for the Celtics at the other end of the roof. Let's talk about a new building here. There you see it, all the Boston Celtics championship, league championship, and world championship pennants. They won their game this afternoon. That series with Detroit is tied 1-1.
Penguins really did a good job in front of Tom Barrasso on that penalty kill. No rebounds. Barrasso saw most of the shots, and the Bruins ended up taking their shots from outside.
Ken Hodge again on this draw. Roberts looks on from the penalty box. Ready to come out. 3-2 Pittsburgh. Hodge won another one. Back to Galley. Galley's shot locked in front of the net, and now Roberts is out of the penalty box. Having served his time, Christian in with a shot deflected by Murphy, and it's into the seats behind Tom Barrasso.
Dave Christian has been one of the other guys for the Boston Bruins. Played very well in the Hartford series. A couple of key goals against the Montreal Canadiens. The Bruins really need some production from guys like Dave Christian. You look at the Penguins lineup, their second line of Francis Stevens and Recchi have played so well. The Bruins have basically been a one-line team throughout the playoffs, other than Dave Christian.
And he lines up against Ron Francis on this draw. Marquardt to the right for Boston. Lazaro on the left wing. Francis, Recchi, and Stevens for Pittsburgh. Murphy started to play, and on the wing, and Stevens dropped it back to Francis. Too far, though. Lazaro speeding back. Lazaro going in with a shot deflected by Roberts. Christian following the play, picked it up, tries to come out front, centered it, and Marquardt just missed it. Recchi down the ice. In for Stevens, and Recchi went in ahead of him. Offside. 9:49 left in the second period.
Mike Milbury was upset before they dropped the puck in that last face-off to start this sequence, but when it ends, he didn't do very much. Neely took a whack at the puck there, and I think the call was a cross-check as the play kept going. And where is it? There's one.
A slash. But watch this shot.
Two, and that's where he got the penalty. He did it just once too often, and that's when Koharski made the call.
Bob Sweeney for Boston. Yes, they have been winning a lot of face-offs. This one, put it in the books. Wesley's shot, kicked away by Barrasso. Penguins with a man advantage, start up the center. Young brings it in, finds a hole to get in over the line, and then slipped the puck into the corner. Ray Bourque is back there with Wesley. Murphy stopped it at the point, it came out. Stevens now waits outside the line. Mario Lemieux comes in to Stevens. And it's going to be Burridge to clear it, one-on-one. Bob Sweeney stopped by Murphy. Recchi turns to Young. In over the Boston line for Lemieux. Stevens shot, scores! Stevens scoring again on a setup by Mario Lemieux. And a hard shot to the glove side of Andy Moog.
Hard shot, and John, a quick release. Boy, what a great job he did from the slot. And what I would term a bit of a bad penalty to Cam Neely cost the Bruins in the power play goal.
We saw it in games 3 and 4, the quick release. Look at this pass by Lemieux, but watch the snap release from Kevin Stevens off the post. Glove side on Andy Moog. No chance for Moog on that shot. Perfect shot by Kevin Stevens.
Pittsburgh goal for number 25, Kevin Stevens.
Kevin Stevens, 13th. .13:04. Scott Young also got an assist along with Lemieux on Stevens' goal. 13:04 the time, and that makes it 4-2. Power play goal by the Penguins. So Pittsburgh killing some penalties in this period, and now getting a power play to get that 2-goal lead back. Don Sweeney lost the puck against Mullen. But then Sweeney intercepted his pass in front of the net, got it up to Ruzicka. And rink-wide pass didn't work. Stevens on it. Rolled it ahead to center. And Don Sweeney backs up in the Boston zone. With Galley on the boards for Christian, turning with Hodge. Dropped it behind Hodge. Hodge had to stop quickly to pick it up and get it to center for Ruzicka. High shot, gloved down by Barrasso. That's Roberts around his own net. Stevens hit hard by Galley just inside the Pittsburgh line, and they're both going off. Stevens slow to get to the Pittsburgh bench on that hard hit. Galley immediately turned and went to the Boston bench. So I guess both shaken up a little bit. Peterson from center. Ahead it goes. Ruzicka dropped it to Janney. That was telegraphed, and Roberts just chopped it into the Boston zone. Bourque's back, here comes Erie, and he hit Bourque hard. Bourque didn't know where he was. Now Peterson hit Erie, and they're all after Erie. Penalty has been called. Erie sailed into Bourque from behind. Neely grabs the mask off Samuelson. The visor ripped off Samuelson by Neely, but nothing developed. Boy, that looked like it was going to explode.
Well, Peterson came to the rescue of Bourque, or at least he was upset with Bob Erie, who had drilled Bourque into the boards, and all of that began. 4-2, Penguins lead. John, they always say in hockey, you can't touch the goaltender. You fellas well protected and
That's right.
by your teammates, but I guess you also can't touch the big stars.
Well,
and after this hit on Bourque, that's when Peterson drew his penalty, and he's in the box. He's the only one right there. There's the arm up. Oh.
Well, look, they're all after Bob Erie, but as you said, Dick, they kept playing the puck, and the Pittsburgh Penguins scored on the play. Now watch Neely and Samuelson as they come in. There's Samuelson. Look at Neely. He's got the glove right in the face. Off comes the helmet, and Samuelson wants no part of Cam Neely.
But you know, Neely was in the box for the retaliation. Samuelson is getting to him, John. Cam should be worried about scoring goals. Don't forget this guy.
Norm, hey Norm. People from Cheers here, everybody knows how popular hockey is at the Cheers bar, and there's Norm enjoying the game tonight. His favorite goaltender got run over. Did his favorite goaltender get run over by the Zamboni? Wasn't that how he met his demise?
The puck might have ended up in the net, but it's still 4-2 for Pittsburgh. The play had been called with that skirmish developing to the left of Andy Moog. Erie Peterson in the penalty box. An advantage for Pittsburgh. Mario Lemieux on the outside. Now whip it around. Young fired one in. Lemieux will move in against Bourque. Bourque leaves it for Hodge. He's out. Don Sweeney up there with him. So's Mark Ward. Sweeney's shot. Booted away and right to Lemieux. Turning is Recchi. He's in over the Boston line. Into Stevens. Stevens with 2 goals on the night, hit by Don Sweeney. Recchi for Mario Lemieux. Lemieux to Recchi to Lemieux. Whipping it back to Recchi in front. Stevens set up perfectly. The shot block. Bourque nailed to the right of the net. Into the corner for Recchi. Centered right in front of the net. Ball down. Loose puck goal. Young at the line. Screen shot block. Young again. Shot block. And it's cleared by Bourque.
What a save Andy Moog made on Larry Murphy to keep this game close. Got the leg up to make the stop.
Minute left on the power play. Here's Recchi charging in. Put it on the glass for Mario Lemieux. That's intercepted, and Bob Sweeney is out with Doris Galley catching up. Doris going in for a shot. That was blocked in front of the net by Larry Murphy. Bob Sweeney made sure it stayed in there for a moment anyway. 38 seconds left on the power play. Pittsburgh moving up. Yager now. He tried to pass it back. Here's Mullen. Centered it right in front of the net. Mullen couldn't find it. Yager was covered. And Bob Sweeney stopped by Yager near center. Puck is shot into the Pittsburgh zone. 15 seconds left in the Boston penalty. Coming out, Phil Bourque hands it off. Yager going in. Tried to center it. It was blocked by Don Sweeney. Bruins, Cam Neely. Skating away. The penalty is over. Neely is moving in. Lazaro right behind him and now going for the net. But Neely can't beat Francis. Pass out to Yager. Yager and Mullen. Mullen dropped it to Yager. Yager centered it. And Don Sweeney put it ahead. Janney and Lazaro on this play. Hammond catching up. They went in offside, so Hammond had to wait outside the line. And now, Brian Trottier alone on the play. Waits for help, finds it. Stanton scores! Stanton from Trottier on a perfect play by the veteran Brian Trottier. And that makes it 5-2, Pittsburgh.
What Brian Trottier showed there, the perfect play is right, Bob. Great anticipation without the puck. When the puck came off the boards, and will Reggie Linelak come in? Trottier was in the right place to pick it off. There. No, that was the pass, sorry. But before that, and he just made the play, and Stanton took the shot.
Here's the play. Trottier waits for his defenseman to come up, and look at Stanton goes right by Jeff Lazaro, who doesn't pick him up. He's got all sorts of time and a great shot by the defenseman as he gets in alone on Andy Moog. Short goaltenders, you try and go high. That's what Stanton did, right up in the roof on Andy Moog.
Fine play by Trottier, no question, at 17:02. Stanton just knew The veteran was going to make the right play, and he just charged in and got the pass right on the tape, and then lifted a high shot over the glove of Andy Moog. The time of the goal was 17:02, and that makes it Pittsburgh 5, Boston 2. The second period winds down. Shots are 23-20 in favor of Pittsburgh. Penguins shoot it down the ice. Wesley will pick it up. Scott Young in watching Wesley. He sailed right into the Boston defenseman. That creates a loose puck, but it is called on the offside. So they'll bring it out over the line. 2:42 to play in the second.
Mike Gobry's team in a lot of trouble, down by 3. Now here's what we mentioned. Hammond was boarded by Joey Mullen, and Hammond got rid of the puck, and who was there? Trottier, moving into the perfect position when he saw what was happening on the boards, and the goal followed on the setup to Stanley. Not a bad goal, John, for your first Stanley Cup tally for the rookie from Wisconsin.
A turnover at the other blue line by a defenseman. Ken Hammond tried that lateral pass instead of throwing it in deep.
Well, 2.5 minutes left in the second period now, and the Boston Bruins in a severe hole. This crowd settled back. Erie centered one. It'll be Burridge of Boston, getting it out to Bob Sweeney. Chops it in, and Barrasso out to stop it. Fired it high on the glass in the corner. Burridge in. Roberts all over it. Burridge with Galley. They come up with a puck for Juris. Galley again. But everybody is covered in there now. The Penguins doing a good job in their own zone. Bruins Wesley keeps it in. Roberts around the net. Erie comes back deep. Murphy goes in back of the goal. Roberts there with him. And Galley, the defenseman, was parked right in front of the net as Juris had gone back to the point. As they fight along the boards, the Penguins come out with it. 1:40 to play in the period. Murphy shot it in. It's Murphy again, turning. Now he passes to Lemieux. He was tied up and can't shoot it. Recchi trying to drive it across, but Burridge and Janney bring it out. Recchi got back, intercepted, but it was called on the offside with 1 minute and 23 seconds left to play in the second period here in Boston.
Well, this is Bob Johnson's first season as the coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins, but it's the Penguins' 24th season in the league. And through all of that time, they have won just 6 games here at the Boston Garden. That's 54 games played in 24 years, and the Penguins have won just 6 times. Their last win was in the 1988-89 season. They're a minute 23 away from the end of the second period, and they lead 5-2.
That's Stanton shooting it in. And that's icing against Pittsburgh.
Johnson has his team playing well on the road in this playoff year. They have the best road record of any playoff team. Has them believing in themselves. I think that has a lot to do with it. You look at their lineup, and they feel that any rink, any time they have the offensive talent to score a lot of goals. They do worry about how they play in their own zone. Tonight, after the first 5 or 6 minutes of the first period, they played very well in their own zone.
Boston, no question, shot a big bolt at Pittsburgh in the first 7 or 8 minutes of the hockey game, scoring in 40 seconds. Stevens tied it at 7:55. Pittsburgh slowly took over. Don Sweeney's shot just missed. Neely in front of the net again as Janney tries to get it out to him. Bob Sweeney came in from the line.
1 minute.
And the Penguins get it out. Into the final minute of the period. Francis beaten to the puck by Don Sweeney. Good skating defenseman. Sweeney. Puck back in a hurry that time. Bork feeds it out to Janney. Janney to the right side with Hodge and Neely. And again, it's broken up by Pittsburgh. Stanton shot it away. All the way over that red line, and that's icing again against Pittsburgh with 34 seconds remaining in the second period.
Well, a tough night for the little guy in the nets. The shots on goal aren't all that severe, 23-21. so far in favor of the Penguins, but there have been some great shots. That last one by Stanley. Trajan Lemelin played the third period of the third game in Pittsburgh. He's been in the back. That's the only time he's seen any action at all in the playoffs. Moog played all of the rest.
But they say the shots that have beaten Andy Moog, they've been great shots, but in the Montreal series, Andy Moog was making those saves, and that was why the Bruins were winning a couple of games. Game 3 in Montreal, Andy Moog won it all by himself. He hasn't been able to do that yet in this series.
Ray Bourque stepping up, trying to get one for Boston before this period is out. Bourque shoots it. Drilled it wide of the goal. Wesley couldn't keep it in. Wicked shot by Bourque, but off the net. Pittsburgh slapping it in by Bourque. Now 15 seconds remaining in the period, and Boston Bruins in trouble. No doubt. Neely can't find room to pass it. Taglianetti lifts a high one in. Bourque knocked it down. There's Hodge getting back in front of Loney, and the siren goes to end the second period in Game 5 at the Boston Garden.
Tom Barrasso not tested very much by the Boston Bruins. The Pittsburgh Penguins' defensive plan: keep the Bruins to the outside, make them take the long angle shots, and Barrasso will stop them. So far tonight, their plan has worked well, other than the first 10 minutes of the first period. And the Bruins look tired and discouraged going into period number 3.
3-2 coming into the second period. Pittsburgh on top of Boston, and all they did was get 2 more. A power play goal by Stevens at 13:04, and then Stanton set up beautifully by Brian Trottier for his first of the playoffs at 17:02. And the shots in the period by Boston, 10 by Pittsburgh, 9. The score at the end of 2 periods in Boston: Pittsburgh 5, the Boston Bruins 2.
Now, Chris Nyland isn't in the penalty box, but he has put Gordy Roberts there on this exchange right at the Penguins goal crease. Down goes Nyland, and away goes Roberts, who, if I read his lips correctly, said to the referee, "That's a joke," but he didn't get an extra 2, and he gets 2 minutes for holding at 3:03.
And it's simple. The Bruins have to score 1 here on this power play.
Have to get one early here, get back in the game, and as you said, Bob, to get the crowd back into this game.
6-2 Pittsburgh. Ray Bourque running out of patience. Hammond is dumped. Neely set up Bourque. Sharp angle though, no shot from there. To the line, Wesley. And that's grabbed by Barrasso. He saw that all the way. Gloved it.
Bourque has a few words with Glenn Wesley about the high shot in front. And now Wesley goes to the bench as Mike Milbury wants to say, if you're going to take the shot from the point, you have to give your guys in front a chance to tip it in. That one was head high on Tom Barrasso, with Bob Sweeney standing right in front of the net, bailing out.
Glenn Wesley's the only Bruin that has appeared in every regular season game and playoff game this season. This is his 98th game.
Look at the high shot. It's pretty hard to get your stick on that one. Even if you do, it's going to be a high stick.
Trottier against Hodge. Hodge won it, but it bounced over the stick of Wesley. Took a hop right in front of him. Bob Sweeney with the pass near center. Nearly lost it to Mullen, but he keeps going. In over the line with Hodge and Neely. Neely to Bourque. He had to turn back from Samuelson. Bourque, not a Neely. Knocked down by Barrasso. Neely kept it in. Bob Sweeney to Ray Bourque. Bourque to the line. Wesley to Bourque again, and back to Wesley. Into Neely. Back to Bourque, intercepted by Mullen. Into the center ice zone. Mullen racing to the bench on a change. Here's Hodge. Moving up. Drops it to Bourque. Bourque turning away from 2 Penguins. Into the side of the net it goes. Here's Janney. All the way back to the line to Wesley. Now Bourque. No shot yet. Crowd getting restless. Janney, side of the net. Pass through the crease. No shot on goal. Bourque at the blue line. Tees it up. No shot. Janney. No shot. Rolled in front. And Taglianetti is going to shoot it to the line, and it hit Wesley and bounced over the boards. At the Boston bench, time running out on the Bruins. 27 seconds left on the power play.
Some good puck movement by the Boston Bruins, but again, so many passes in front with not many shots. Cam Neely had one good low shot. Craig Janney had one good low shot. Good play by Joey Mullen. Mullen and Gillen killing penalties. Now watch Mullen give Lemieux his stick as Lemieux jumped over the boards without his stick. Mullen was sharp enough to realize it. Here, Mario, use mine. Like the old ball players. Leave the glove out in center field and pick it up on the way out.
Mario won the face-off and got a shot on goal with it. 20 seconds left in the Pittsburgh penalty. And they've got the Bruins stymied. They're coming up to the 5-minute mark of the third with a 6-2 lead, Pittsburgh. Ray Bourque has to skate right along the blue line to find a room to get in. Janney on the boards with it. Lemieux took it away. Janney got it back. Pittsburgh clearing it. Penalty is over. Roberts is out of the box. So a harmless power play for Boston, even though they had control inside the line. Barrasso had very little to do. 5:15 gone in the third. Duras picking his hole in and can't get a shot on the net. Tied up. Stevens brings it out. Lemieux right behind him. Mario Lemieux made a couple of good moves on Janney. The shot by Samuelson, he scores! Now it hit somebody in front again. Stevens and Mullen were both there, but Samuelson drilled the shot. And now it's a rout. 7-2, Pittsburgh.
Boston Garden has always been, in my opinion, the quietest building in the NHL when the other team scores. And this place is starting to empty.
Here's the rush, and look at Mario Lemieux. Wait, wait, wait. Samuelson just jumps in front and lets it go. And look at Mullen and Stevens. And Stevens and Moog have had something going throughout the playoffs. Here's the shot from Samuelson. And look at Stevens. Andy Moog is waving at Stevens instead of trying to pick up the puck. And Samuelson just drills it past him. What a game for Lemieux and Stevens. They've dominated here at the Boston Garden.
Stevens and Lemieux assisting on the goal. 5:36 the time of number 7 on the night for Pittsburgh. 7-2 now. Samuelson from Lemieux and Kevin Stevens. Broken up at the Pittsburgh line by Taglianetti. Don Sweeney coming back. They've hit the 6-minute mark of the third. Stevens moving up with Jennings. Moog stopped that. Here's Francis around the net. I didn't think anybody could score 7 goals in Andy Moog the way he has been playing in these playoffs. Not the fault of Andy Moog. Pittsburgh is just taking it to Boston. But Montreal had a shot at that in a couple of games in their series. But Moog would stone them. She can't go on forever. 7 goals by Pittsburgh tonight, and they're not up to the 7-minute mark of the third yet.
Every chance that Pittsburgh has gotten tonight has been a real quality scoring chance, and their scoring abilities are so much better than Montreal's. I'm sure Andy Moog is figuring, when are these guys going to shoot one wide?
Here's Phil Bourque. He might. Passed it in front of the net. Nyland comes to center ice. Tries a long shot for Barrasso. That was off the goal. Bob Sweeney stopped Phil Bourque behind the goal. Here's Burridge. Hammond chopped away by the stick of Barrasso. Bourque coming out. Spun around by Burridge. Here is Burridge in the center ice zone. Dropped it back. Bob Sweeney bumped near the line and knocked down. 3 Penguins moving up. And a 4th close at hand. A pass in front of the Boston net. Bob Sweeney back in the slot. That's broken out. All Pittsburgh. Great positional hockey now. They're changing quickly as Bourque tries his shot from outside the blue line. Penguins clear. It'll go right to Andy Moog. No icing. 7-2. Penguins lead. Again, Barrasso stopping it for Taglianetti to Erie. Stopped at the line by Bork. Tipped in front, and Barrasso saw it. Had the pad down along the ice where the shot was. Made the save and held it. 11:46 remaining in the third.
John Garrett just used the word frustrated to describe the Bruins, and fatigued. Well, there's a pretty good example, I think, right now, as Andy Moog sits it out here through the last part of the third period. And the unfaithful also frustrated.
Jennings shot one from his own line. Yager picked it up, eluded a hit, and a long shot kicked out by Lemelin. His first stop. Lemelin with that right foot, darting out to stop it. Yager put it through the crease. Stanton fed it into the corner, but Loney was on the ice. He's been hurt, couldn't get up. The puck hit him. And out comes the Pittsburgh trainer. And take a look at Troy Loney.
Joint French music and Derek Sanderson Saturday night at 7:30 when the Bruins travel to Pittsburgh Civic Arena for Game 6 of the series.
Watch his leg underneath him here as Jeff Lazaro and Alan Peterson push Loney into the boards. And Loney just laid there. Skip Thayer's out attending to Loney now, and it looks like he's going to be all right. Now watch Peterson give him a shove, and then he catches his leg right there on Jeff Lazaro before he goes crashing into the boards.
You know, John, with the exception of Paul Coffey, there is no doubt that the Penguins are in much better physical condition. Their health within the ranks much stronger than is the case with the Bruins. And in Boston's case, you've got players who are playing hurt. There's no question. Everybody does around this time of year if the teams are still in it. And he'll be playing again, I'm sure, before this one goes much further. There's Brian Trottier. He's been a pretty good hockey player tonight for Pittsburgh. More on him in a minute. Bob.
Galley takes the puck off the boards. Lazaro trying to get something going for Boston. The Bruins would like to do is to show some signs of offensive prowess and get psychologically set for Game 6 at Pittsburgh.
Well, to finish the thought on Brian Trottier, he has 2 points tonight, a nice goal, and an even nicer assist on the Stanton goal. Brian now has 174 playoff points. That's 6th overall all-time in the National Hockey League. He is just 2 points behind Jean Beliveau. Glenn Anderson moved up past Beliveau and into 4th place earlier this playoff year.
He made a great play setting up Stanton in the second period. Stanton got his first playoff goal from Brian Trottier. Up all alone on a play inside the Boston line and waited for somebody. It turned out to be Stanton, and he got a beautiful pass. Lazaro for Boston. Back to the goal, can't center it. Phil Bork there, didn't clear it. Galley now gets in there. Galley's low shot, missed rebound to Lazaro, and it hopped away from him. Young goes back over center ice. Bumped by Galley, who will get a penalty, I think. Galley will get a kneeing penalty. Got the knee out on the Pittsburgh player and sent him flying. Kneeing penalty to Galley. Our Stanley Cup coverage continues in a moment.
It's not too often that kneeing is called. Gary Galley has just received 2 minutes for the knee. Certainly Mike Milbury thought there should have been one called in Game 3, and Samuelson let everybody know it. But Galley and Scott Young, and down goes Young and away goes Galley. So things aren't bad enough for the Bruins, down by 5 goals with 8:12 remaining. Now they're down with Galley in the penalty box in the manpower department.
Scott Young looked up and saw Galley coming from a good distance and dodged out of the way. Galley had to get his leg right out to get a piece of Scott Young.
Pittsburgh looking for its 4th power play goal of the evening. 8 minutes left of the third period. And the Penguins will take a 3-2 lead in games going back to Pittsburgh. Game 6 on Saturday. Yager worked it in front of Lemelin. Murphy stopped it at the blue line, but it is called.
After the whistle went, Marquardt took a run and threw a shoulder into Ron Francis. Evan Marquardt in and out of the Boston lineup, John, throughout this playoff year. Ron Francis, speaking of games played, tonight this is, let's see, this is the Penguins' 17th game, his 81st. He had 81 rather in regular season because of the trade. And Francis braced himself there. Marquardt talks to him. Evan Marquardt drew back-to-back penalties early in the game, and it was costly to Boston. Took the momentum away from them offensively, and Pittsburgh got a goal, their second goal, with Lemieux scoring it to go ahead 2-1 when he was serving his second penalty.
Talked about teams being healthy and players playing hurt. Cam Neely, the key guy of the Boston Bruins, has played this series hurt. The Charlie horse from Samuelson in game 3, and then a shoulder problem in Montreal, and he played through that series with the shoulder problem. And it's hard when your key player, like Cam Neely, plays so much for the Bruins. He has to play hurt and play all the time.
Out comes Barrasso. Telling Young that Marquardt was coming in a hurry, moving. Yager takes the pass. Up to the line was Mullen, but he couldn't hold it there. Marquardt turns in for the Boston Bruins, dropping it. Sweeney's shot deflected wide of the goal, and the Penguins get out, but Marquardt went into the boards rather heavily and behind the Pittsburgh net.
Tom Barrasso's stick went up to try to play the high puck as it came sort of eye high on Barrasso. Whether he clipped Marquardt in the process, I couldn't tell.
Puck came off the boards, as you say, Dick. A funny bounce off the boards. It came high, and Barrasso was trying to play it back into the corner. Had his stick up.
Marquardt hit very heavily and is still exactly in the position where he hit and fell.
Now watch Barrasso try to play the puck. He doesn't even look at Marquardt, but there's his stick. Now watch him. He gets turned around, goes in back first, and hits his head on the boards also.
Marquardt has had an injury-plagued last few seasons. Only played in 23 games this year and 8 in the 89-90 season with a shoulder injury. Former Regina Jr. seems to be in some degree of difficulty, and Mike Milbury looking concerned behind the bench. All of this coming with 7:22 remaining in the third period, and the Penguins leading the Bruins 7-2 here in Boston.
Marquardt had one of those groin problems that seemed to have bothered a few people. Sylvain Turgeon had the same type of injury and missed almost an entire season. Marquardt with surgery and was out for most of the year.
Boston doctor coming out to have a look at the Bruin player now, and here it is.
Here's another look. Look at Barrasso's trying to play the puck, but his stick is right in front of Marquardt, gets a piece of him, and then Marquardt goes crashing into the boards, and you can see his helmet is off a little bit when he hits the boards.
Kind of a scene you do not like to see. So Marquardt getting a hand from the crowd as he is taken off the ice. We'll try to get a report as soon as we can.
Mike Milbury looks on, and his team, they talked about their fatigue factor and how they grind to the Montreal series, wore them down, and now another player goes down with an injury. Pittsburgh had 6 extra days to rest before they started their series with Boston, and Boston had 1 day in between their games. Their game 7 against the Montreal Canadiens and game 1 here against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
It's the 18th game for the Bruins. I think it's in 36 nights or thereabouts.
A minute and 5 seconds left in the Boston penalty. Galley in the penalty box. Pittsburgh 7, Boston 2. Moving in is Stevens. And offside. He had stepped over the line. Fraction too quickly.
Well, he's had quite a night, this young man from the Boston area. You know that there are relatives and friends. There were a very small scattering of cheers when the Penguins would score. And tonight, he has had a 5-point night. 2 goals, 3 assists. Not a bad homecoming for him.
He's on now with Recchi and Lemieux on this Pittsburgh power play, which has another 50 seconds. Into the Boston zone. Hammond had to double back quickly. And Lemelin would not want to take any more chances, so he smothered it. Bruins started in a rush, no question. The crowd well behind them at 40 seconds when Don Sweeney scored after a face-off in the Pittsburgh zone. 40 seconds into the first period. Bang.
Hey, they brought one sign from Pittsburgh. Didn't bring the Jaws,
No.
but they brought the Mario sign.
I think Kevin Stevens tied it up at 7:55. And then the Lemieux power play goal at 12:04 of the first period. And then Trottier and Stevens again, and Stanton and Murphy and Samuelson. Janney had another goal for Boston. 7-2. Zarrow in there, dropped it back to Mario Lemieux. To Roberts. And Roberts goes up to the Boston line to Lemieux again. Lost control of it. And they're in slow motion now. Everybody knows the outcome of this one. And everybody is probably saying, let's get out of this without any injuries. And we'll see what happens in game 6. Stevens drops it back. Lemieux at the line. Handles it well until he ran into Burridge. He knocked it away from the big guy. Recchi stopped by Peterson. Shakes loose. Passed it behind the net, and Lemieux couldn't stop it. 6 minutes left, third. Teams at full strength now. Duras, Burridge, and Galley are in deep. Galley went in a bit too far to do anything with that pass. Wesley's shot. That's blocked. Another shot. Rasso made a good save there. Penguins get it out. Phil Bourque coming up with Gillen. Gillen gets a drive away, and it missed the Boston net by a good margin. Gillen in there very quickly. Can't center it. He hit the back of the net, then he upset the Boston player Wesley, and he'll be going off for tripping.
Randy Gillen, who's been used exclusively as a penalty killer up until that shift, takes a penalty in behind the net. He missed a pass. He tried to throw it out short side. And after he missed the pass, he hauled down Alan Peterson and took the penalty.
They didn't play Gillen in game 3. They dressed Jari Hrdina instead. And then Gillen came back in game 4 and was very effective in a penalty killing role for the Penguins. And the former Winnipeg Jet has been used in that way tonight, but draws a penalty for a trip right here with 5:28 remaining in the third period. You know, the Penguins, it was well publicized that they had never played a game in the month of May until this series. Last year, the Bruins played Washington in the conference final. The Capitals had never played a game in May, but they did. They've never won a game in May because the Bruins beat them 4 straight. Well, the Penguins, they like playing in the merry month of May. They're heading for 3 for 3. I want this. Who says this schedule is too long? Not as far as Pittsburgh's concerned right about now.
Looking for their 5th road win of this playoff year. Played a very strong road game tonight.
Well, they had to win one in Boston if their dreams could continue. They're going to do that tonight. 1:40 left of the penalty to Pittsburgh's Randy Gillen. Joe Mullen was there to intercept the pass. Taglianetti shot at the length of the ice. 5 minutes left of the third period. Boston down by 5. Ray Bourque tried to hit Neely with a pass. Now Neely coming for the net. Takes a shot on the short side. Rasso cut that off easily. Bourque to Galley. His shot. Deflected and missed the goal. Taglianetti again for Young with Airy, and he'll just shoot it into the Boston zone. 1 minute left of the penalty. Penguins changing as the Bruins went back to pick it up. Bourque's pass too far for Galley. There's Barrasso again trying to set up Janney that time.
Threw it right up the middle, and Janney on the backhand couldn't handle the pass, or he would have been in alone.
Trottier dumped it away. And now with 40 seconds left in Gillen's penalty, Ruzicka is on the ice and skates straight to center. In over the Boston line, but Hammond, the defenseman, wanted to get in on the play, and he was ahead of Ruzicka, offside.
Well, the last time these teams played in this building, Vladimir Ruzicka had a 5-point night capped by an overtime goal. A far different atmosphere in this one for him and everybody else in a Boston uniform, and especially the fans, those who are still here.
That, of course, was game 2. Boston won the first game 6-3. Then back home in Pittsburgh for the Penguins at the Civic Arena, and that big crowd turned up. Pittsburgh won 2 games by identical 4-1 scores. Here tonight, shooting out the lights on Boston with a 7-2 lead right now, and only 3:50 remaining in the third period. Barrasso stepping behind the net. It's a break down the right side. Hammond the only one back, and Erie is on the left wing with Young. Here's Young going in himself, and Lemelin got that glove up and knocked it down. They haven't beaten Reggie yet.
Perfect save percentage and the best goals against average in the playoffs.
This time, it's Young feeding it ahead to Gillen. He's in, and Reggie again comes up big. So that's 2 big chances for Pittsburgh on Lemelin. And now the crowd is back into their Reggie chant, which we've heard so many times in this building when Reggie was playing in his glory. Back up now to the sensational Andy Moog in these playoffs. Andy went out at the 8:14 mark of this third period after Pittsburgh had scored 7 times. But Moog was great against Hartford, more than great against the Montreal Canadiens, and has been solid in this series. But the snipers of Pittsburgh are starting to find holes. Good scoring team.
Every chance they seem to make the perfect shot or the perfect play.
Here's Mullen with one. Reggie out, knocked it down. In front again. Stevens bidding for his hat trick. Had it hop over his stick. Now Lazaro with a little room. Barrasso covered the angle, made a good save, picking out the right pad. And again, Barrasso covers on the short side. Galley knocked it down with his glove. Penguins pick it up, so the play continues. Taglianetti in the corner. Less than 2 minutes remaining in the third period. Reggie leaves it for Hammond and Galley. Galley takes it. 1:45 to play. We'll be in Pittsburgh Saturday for game 6. And the Bruins on the brink. Pittsburgh tough to beat at the Civic Arena. Out comes Reggie. Hammond back. Talking to Paul Coffey the other night in Pittsburgh. They had a long chat about his injury, the broken jaw. He was twitching, dying to get into it. On that in a moment as Sweeney goes in and a stop. But Paul was saying that should this go 7 games, wouldn't be surprised if they allow me to play. I'd like to. Of course, if the Penguins should win there in advance, he'll play.
Craig Patrick's father, Lynn, was once both coach and general manager of the Boston Bruins. He is now general managing against his father's old team, spots the camera and waves, and obviously very satisfied with the way these last 3 games have gone. We have no word from the Bruin dressing room concerning Nevin Marquardt. There's just nothing no one has been able to check so far. They're still examining him. That's the last report we have.
Into the final minute of game 5. Erie and Trottier get together to move toward the net again. Trottier left it in the corner. Yager trying to move out. Another penalty being called against Boston. Hammond hit his man. But the penalty had been called before that.
And it was Hammond on Bob Erie who had the original penalty. I'm sure he's going to get double minors. It doesn't matter with 39 seconds left. But it was Erie who hit Bork and created that affair in front when Alan Peterson went after Erie after the big hit Erie on Bork.
Well, you remember Hammond waving goodbye to, I forget who it was, one of the Pittsburgh players who had a penalty earlier on. Whatever ploys the Bruins have tried to use psychologically and otherwise here tonight have obviously failed miserably. Now we'll see if he's got a 2-minute or a 4-minute penalty. If it's 4, then he's going to go to the dressing room. If it was just 2, he'd stay in the box in case they scored.
I watched Koharski come over to the penalty box. He made one sign for 2, boarding, and the other for 2, roughing. It's not up on the clock yet, though.
And Hammond's just going to sit it out in the box. Of course, they could get 2 goals. And then he could come out.
It's the way their power play is going tonight.
There it is. Boarding and roughing, a pair of minor penalties to Ken Hammond.
Chris Nyland was on the ice in the last minute and a half for the Boston Bruins. Nyland, Sweeney, and Hammond. And with Bob Airey on the ice, you kind of figured that one of them was going to take a shot at Bob Airey.
19:21, the time of the penalty. So the clock running down with less than 30 seconds left. Pittsburgh with the man advantage for the rest of this one. Here's the shot, tipped in front. Leveler again makes the save.
You see who tipped that puck? It was Phil Borg. And Phil Borg has had some great scoring chances throughout this series and just can't buy a goal. Here the tip in, Reggie's already down. But it goes up and hits Reggie Lemelin, and Lemelin makes the save.
Well, whenever Andy Moak's been on the bench, Reggie's now 18 for 18, John. He's had 18 shots in his appearance in this series. He stopped them all.
15 seconds to play. And in front of Reggie again, Peterson was covering for the goaltender. It's out over the line. This will do it. Taglianetti looks up at the clock. Amble's back. Here's the siren. Pittsburgh takes the lead in the series. 3-2 by beating the Boston Bruins here tonight in game 5, 7-2.
You know, before this series began, Boston's general manager, Harry Sinden, said he felt the Penguins were a better team than either Hartford or Montreal, the teams that Boston eliminated in the Adams division. And he said the reason he feels that way is because they have better goal scorers, better offense. Well, we saw it tonight, John, in a big way. 7 goals here in Boston.
We talked about their keys. They continued to play physically. They drew the Bruins into some penalties. Their power play was very good. The Mario factor, Mario Lemieux had another strong game on the road. And Tom Barrasso was pretty good in net, although he wasn't challenged that much.
The 2 goals in the third period by Murphy at 1:08 and by Samuelson, his first, by the way, at 5:36. So a convincing win for the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. They take a lead back home for game 6, and we'll be there on Saturday. The final score, Pittsburgh 7, Boston 2.